And today I am live with the lovely Samantha Mesa. You might have caught our news segment last week, I believe that was. And today I get to ask the questions.
Oh, tables turn.
So, yes, the tables have turned. Samantha, would you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your background, like the top level 3 sentence, and then maybe how you got yourself to Des Moines, Iowa?
Whew, 3 sentences. Yeah. I'm from a big family of 8 kids raised in Colorado. We are Mexican, Irish, and French. So lots going on there. I got into journalism because I really just saw journalists as just superheroes and just in, telling the stories of our communities. So I grew up in the country in Colorado. And eventually I made my way through college and just navigating, building a career in a time that people were saying journalism is dying. And it took some time. I had a non-traditional path into journalism. But in my mid-20s, I got into Columbia University, and that helped me really just launch a career that has taken me across the U.S. from Texas to New York to Iowa, lots of different companies, different affiliates, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. It's been a crazy last 10 years in journalism. So that I have family, and it's like, okay, condense it all. But I have in the last 2 years, the pandemic changed life for me for family, in that I have some brothers in Minneapolis, and then the opportunity to be an anchor in Des Moines came up, and I needed to make some changes in my family life. So I took the opportunity, and that landed me in the Midwest. So I'm here trying to make a difference in our communities here. And it led me back to you, Whitney.
Yeah, we're just switching back and forth faces today. And I think it's so fascinating because Sam and I actually met back in Rochester, New York, where I used to live and Sam used to live. And then Sam shows up on the scene in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was like, no way.
What?
No. It was just like,
what is happening?
Yeah, in fact, my mom was like, do you know this girl named Samantha? And I was like, actually, I do.
Do I know her?
And it's crazy that she's here. So Samantha, thanks for being here. And the very first question, so I basically introduced the Enneagram to you because of the news segment. And in preparation for our new segment, I offered you to take the IEQ9, which is like this incredibly in-depth personality assessment that will show you at the end your Enneagram style. This is the assessment that I use in all my corporate work and all my consulting. And the reason I use it is because it shows you so much more than just your core type. And it is such an accurate and in-depth test. So Sam, I'm going to switch it over to you, but I would love to hear your reaction because it was priceless.
Can I read our texts?
Yeah. I mean, you totally can if they're available.
I think my first reaction, and I'm just gonna look these up. My first reaction is I was kind of like, whoa. So I will say that when you were preparing me for this test, the thing that really I think it would made a big difference is you said we can tell when someone is trying to make themselves sound better than what they are. So say they're trying to gloss over things they don't really like about themselves, characteristics, habits, stuff that they're like, oh, I'm just going to say this because it sounds better than what I would really tell you. And you told me that doesn't do that, shortchanges yourself, personally taking the Enneagram. It's like, that's not what this is about. It's about your personal development and living a better life. It's not about sounding better than you are.
It's really hard to do with the IEQ9 because there's so many questions, and it's not so much about work performance as it is who am I. So some people struggle with answering the question, who am I? as do we all. And the coolest thing about the IEQ9 is it actually gives you the answer to who am I and how am I motivated, which are two very difficult questions to answer just like off the top of your head.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I'm looking back at my text.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm guessing made you probably laugh. You're like, okay, so what are you? And I'm like, I'm reading this now, and you're like, I don't always get it right, but I was pretty confident about you. And I'm like,
I was very confident about you. But
I responded, and I'm like, good Lord. And then
Yeah.
you're like, are you reading it? And I said, I just started the beginning. I found myself holding back a little because I was cringing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, you are not alone.
And then I was like, I had to tell myself this is to be better, be there for myself better, and then to better understand where I'm at, to live better. And then I just texted you, and I was like, phew, I had to let go of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you texted me later and you're like, oh no, I've like settled in. I got it. Like I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
here with this. I see why this is for me. And I
Yeah.
think the interesting thing is
It was tough. Like it was kind of it's like as real talk as it can get.
it is like the Enneagram is real talk. It is not like, oh, I am an assertive project go getter. I don't know, like that kind of stuff. It's like, no, here is what I fear. Here's what I desire. Here's what motivates me. And honestly, if you don't cringe a little when you read your report, you probably got the wrong type, which actually doesn't happen all that often with the IEQ9 because it's so in depth. But the parts of ourselves that are cringy are also the parts of ourselves that propel us to success.
I
If
get
you
that.
don't get one, yeah, tell me what that means for you. The parts of ourselves that are cringy are also the parts of ourselves that create success. How did you see that?
It's your strength can become your weakness if you're triggered, if you're stressed, if you're tired, if you're just not in a great headspace, because we're complex. There's so many dimensions to who we are as humans. And the thing that really resonated and made me feel more empowered than anything, and I'm so glad that I took the test, because it was like, take off the remove the fog. It was just like so clearly like, oh, okay. I like the test articulates, it puts into words what I haven't had the language to
Mm,
describe and even understand myself. So taking responsibility for just my role in a room, that was a huge one for me, and that I'm just like, okay, what does it look like if I get triggered or my buttons pushed and I'm not my best, and actually I might be at my worst because of given factors, things that are happening. And when I snap, or when I do something that is it's just really, it's not helping. If anything, it could be making a situation worse. The Enneagram showed me that taking responsibility for my role in a room is really unpacking, why did I react the way that I did? Well, like there's actually reasons behind it, and understanding myself and why I had that type of reaction is like, oh, okay, this did kind of get blown up in my head, and I didn't realize that, and I made a situation worse.
And there's two sides to that, right? Like what I heard you say there was reading it lets you claim responsibility for the things that are working, are awesome, but also being responsible for the impact we have in a room based on our motivations and biases. And that, this is why I love doing this work in teams, is because the second we unveil the types of people,
That's the word, unveiling. Like,
yeah. You start looking out around the room at people, and there's this sense, there's this exhale in the room, because you can start saying, "Oh, that person doesn't talk a lot in meetings, and might be very focused on tasks rather than how the person feels. Well, that person might be a 5, might be motivated to understand, have a deep process, very analytical. Whereas someone who's motivated like a 2, they want to have deep connections, they want to be appreciated, they want to feel valued. They're really in it for the people connection. You know, like, it's me. But twos,
It all makes sense.
yeah, twos in the room are the people who are focused on the people experience. And so it makes a lot of sense when you say, your impact on the room, you're going to be highly focused on the people impact on the room and how you are being experienced in the room. Because twos are the ultimate people. Like that's just who you are. So it makes a lot of sense, for what you do for a living.
Yeah, and with that, the on the positive side, because I like the first what I focus in on most is my weaknesses and where I'm like, oh, and that's what it's like. I don't want to hear about the things that I do wrong, but the also like understanding how to just better bring your best self to the table, and then like having grace with people when they are maybe not in a great space and they're reactive and it's kind of a jarring situation, just what I was talking about, say a stressful situation that you're feeling like your buttons pushed. Learning the Enneagram was very eye-opening in that it was just like, it's not about me. I took it personally, but this is something that they're going through. It is not about me. And then so it's like such a two-way street. I think that's so helpful in understanding each other. And then the grace part of it, I really appreciate how Enneagram speaks a lot about compassion, grace, and then growth. And that was super encouraging. That helped take the edge off when I was like, oh my gosh, this is the way I can be perceived sometimes. This is where my motivations come from. Like, and that was, so there's so much growth that comes from that. And then the growth too, that I really loved the self-care tips.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care, I feel that is the most vital piece. It's like when you go in for an injury to the doctor, they, look at the problem and then it's like, here's how we're going to help you heal. And then you go to hopefully strength training or the gym or something to get stronger after the injury, whatever it is, the trauma, the setback, just even. And the self-care, I think, I was looking forward to that the most, because I'm like, I think I'm just kind of putting myself on the back burner and I'm neglecting a lot of ways that I can support myself better, which when I do that, Enneagram was super insightful on how to just be there for yourself better and then be better for others around you and all the things we manage in our daily life. So those were my biggest takeaways: take responsibility and the self-care.
Yeah. And what I heard you say in that is don't take things personally.
Yeah. Oh my.
I think for type 2, that's a big moment of like, oh, not everyone is set up the way that I am.
Right.
And just, that really helped me as an 8. I mean, that was learning empathy, practicing empathy. That was a skill I got to learn. Absolutely. Practicing compassion for myself, practicing compassion for others. Absolutely a skill I practice. When I get into my dark places, I just want to cut at like any sort of anything. I'm just like, no, that's not right. And I'm like, ooh, no, that doesn't do it. That doesn't get me anywhere. And so it is that constant stretch of like, they're not doing this to me. They have a reason, they're protecting something, or they have an agenda, and maybe it doesn't align with mine, but that doesn't mean I need to curl into my protective mechanisms. So Sam, my last question as we wrap up here. You are coming to the conference, which I'm so thrilled about. What are you hoping to gain? What are you looking forward to? Like what's next for you in this journey?
It's probably right tied into how my number 2 it fits in, is that I want to connect. I want to talk to people. I want to share what I'm learning and processing and my goals. And I want to hear from other people that also want growth. And we want to be sources of positive energy, learning, supporting each other, learning how to be better present for ourselves. And then how can that look in our lives, the people in our lives and what we do. I just can't wait to connect with other people that are actively wanting better, like wanting to evolve, wanting to learn the science of who we are, and then just come together in this like energy of growth and like just a good vibe. That's what I'm looking for.
A good vibe. Heck, oh my goodness. I just figured out how to do this side by side at the very end. Oh my goodness.
Started. Oh my God.
I tried
every face. I love our faces together.
I don't even know what I just did, team. I don't know, but that was a big moment for me. If anybody's watching that, I figured out the technology. But back to the actual shoot here. A good vibe. The truth is,
right?
Well, we try to do this like, ooh, even cooler. I'm gonna not do that right now. We try to do this work of self-growth alone, and the truth is we cannot.
No.
We cannot evolve alone. We can only evolve in relationship with others because they are our mirror. They are the thing.
When we were connected and we sat down for brunch, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have been going it alone. And it's not to blame anybody. It's just kind of how, and it wasn't even a negative way of thinking. It was a realization. It was like, dang, I've been in a desert when it comes to just community and connection and hearing each other out. It was so refreshing reconnecting with you and being a part of this. I'm like, I feel like revived. I also feel so stimulated in that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm almost back in I'm back on campus at a university and I'm studying again. And I'm like getting so much out of it. And I'm just like, this is fascinating. Like, let's unpack this. And it feels like that kind of connection where it's just it's what it's like, the vibrance, like I just feel like really energized and just so I'm eating it up, which I don't think I need to explain why.
So if you'd like to join Sam and I on February 9th and 10th, we're going to learn together. We're going to grow together. There is some incredible content that we are putting out there. You do not have to know anything about the Enneagram. You have to want to be a better human being, a better leader, and someone who is a seeker. Everybody in this room, seeker. And I'm a true believer that all the work we do, there's no professional development. It's all personal. But of course, when we do personal development, it affects how we do our job and it affects how we care for the people that we do our job with. So I'm passionate about bringing this into the corporate world, into the leader world, into the work world, because we spend most of our time there and we know the least about the people sitting across the table from us.
Oh, we almost like repel them sometimes. And that's just how life gets, you know, like sometimes it just gets to be a grind. I just gotta say, you give such refreshing space to just connect because, like you said, I didn't know anything about Enneagram, and then when we had brunch, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the coffee date I've been needing. Like,
I'm so glad you can be there. I'll post the link to say yes to the conference in the chat. Sam and I will be there having a very good time and learning a lot, and we can't wait to see all of you.
And it's no judgment, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can
yeah, I had to get past that. So yeah.
Yay. Thank you, Sam. I'll see you very soon.
Very soon. Happy Friday.
Yes, likewise. Bye.